Today I'll show you how to make amazing New York-style bagels. They're so good. Hi, I'm Sune and I'm a food geek. So I have another bagel recipe on my channel, but that's sourdough bagels. Those are amazing for that well-developed taste that you get with the long fermentation. And I wanted to recreate that in this recipe. The leavening is commercial yeast, making everything much more straightforward, but to support a long fermentation, we're just adding a tiny bit. Also, the dough is made using a poolish, kind of starter, but made with yeast. It helps the texture, but also brings the flavor to the front, especially when using sifted flour. Also, you boil authentic New York-style bagels in an alkaline water, usually achieved by adding food-grade lye to the water. Later, I'll explain how you can avoid that and still get the authentic tasting bagel. For many bakers, this recipe is different from what you usually see. You put over half of the flour and all of the water in the poolish. First, the poolish is mixed and left to ferment for 2 hours, and then the rest of the flour, salt, yeast, and barley malt syrup is added. Then you knead the dough. Mixing in the flour in stages is essential, as the dough's feeling is much more important than the hydration. It needs to be less than tacky, but not dry. Also, before baking, you retard the bagels to enhance the flavor further. Trust me, they're fantastic. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon. You can also buy some merch, or use the super thanks, or use the links in the description for tools and ingredients. Those were the words. This is the recipe.
There's a link in the description to the recipe on my website. First, we mix the poolish. To a medium bowl, add 320 grams or 2.5 cups of bread flour, 2 grams or half a teaspoon of instant yeast. Distribute the yeast in the flour. Then add 360 grams or 2.5 cups of water. Mix everything. Then put the mixture somewhere warm for 2 hours. When the 2 hours are up, grab the poolish. Add 1 gram or 1/4 teaspoon of instant yeast, 13 grams or 1 3/4 teaspoon of table salt, 10 grams or 1 1/3 teaspoons of barley malt syrup. If you don't have or can't get barley malt syrup, you can make an alternative with ordinary ingredients. Read the details in the article on my website. Mix everything. Then add about half of 300 grams or 2.5 cups of bread flour. Mix it in. Keep adding more flour until you're at a kneadable consistency. Knead flour into the dough until you have a nice supple dough. It should be slightly tacky, but not dry. Then weigh the dough, divide that weight by 8, and divide the dough into 8 equal portions. Shape each piece into a taut ball. Then let them rest under a damp dishcloth for 20 minutes. Grab a baking sheet that'll fit in your fridge. Put a piece of parchment paper on top and top that with semolina or coarse cornmeal. To shape a bagel, flour your thumb and index finger and make a hole in the middle of the dough ball. Twist it around on your fingers, making the hole bigger. If you like your bagels with a little hole, make the hole around 2.5 centimeters, 1 inch. If you want a big hole, go for 5 centimeters, 2 inches. Shape the rest of the bagels. Put some plastic wrap over top and let them proof for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, grab a bowl of water and submerge a bagel. If it floats within 10 seconds, the dough is proofed enough. If not, put the bagels away for another 20 minutes and retry. Keep going until you have a floating bagel. Then oil the plastic wrap and put them in the fridge overnight or up to 2 days. The longer, the more taste. When ready to bake, heat your oven to 220 degrees Celsius, 425 degrees Fahrenheit. Add 2.2 liters or 2.5 quarts of water to a pot. Add 3 grams or half a teaspoon of food grade lye. If you don't want to use lye, you can bake 100 grams, 2 1/3 cups of baking soda in the oven set to 120 degrees Celsius, 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour. Then add 50 grams of the baked baking soda to the water instead of the lye. The remaining baked baking soda can be stored in an airtight container and will last at least as long as the expiration date, but probably longer. Bring the water to a boil. Add as many bagels as you can without them overlapping. Boil them for 1 minute on each side, or if you like them very chewy, you can go for 2 minutes on each side. While they're still wet, sprinkle them with whatever toppings you like. I'm going for everything bagel seasoning, sesame and poppy seeds, and leaving 2 plain. Then put them in the oven for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, rotate the pans. If your oven heats unevenly, switch the top and bottom pans around. Lower the temperature to 200 degrees Celsius, 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Bake for about 20 minutes more, but test to see if they're done to your liking during this time. Take them out and let them cool in a wire rack, or for oven fresh bagels, you can use them after about 15 minutes. Alright, let me show you two of my favorite bagel sandwiches. The first one is a classic New York lox sandwich. I choose a plain untoasted bagel, but sesame would go great with lox too. Slather with an obscene amount of full-fat cream cheese. Add a lot of cold-smoked, thinly sliced salmon. Then some nice slices of ripe tomatoes. Season them with salt and pepper. Add as many capers as you would like. Voila! The second one is a California avocado toast bagel. I'm using a sesame seed bagel, toasted. Put a good amount of mashed avocado seasoned with lots of salt on the bottom. Then add some slices of ripe tomatoes, season with pepper, and then a sunny side up with a gooey yolk. Then it's ready to eat. Let me just show you these bagels in all of their glory.
So, how about that? Don't they just look great? They're straightforward to make and simply cannot fail as long as you retard them at the right time. What is your favorite bagel sandwich? Let me know in the comments. If you made it this far in the video, start your message with New York, then I'll answer those questions first. I hope you learned something today. See you next time.